I'm joined by Martin Chulov via Skype. Martin, you've had a chance now to speak to some of the Syrian refugees. What have they been saying?
Well, they've been talking about the events of last Saturday in particular, in which a version of events is now starting to become clear, and that is that there was a defection en masse by part of the security forces inside the town of Jisr al-Shuga. One person we spoke to today witnessed the defection. He was shot as forces from inside the base were shooting at fleeing soldiers. He was shot in the thigh. He talked us through this quite extensively. He says that the bulk of the deaths that were caused during the weekend's intensive fighting in this village were indeed caused by clashes between defecting military units and those who have remained loyal to the regime. So it is a slightly different picture to residents taking up arms and starting to shoot at security forces. However, according to the gentleman we spoke to today, some residents actually did do that when they did receive some weapons from soldiers who had been shot.
So we're still trying to work out, how many of these 120 were killed by clashes between the military, and how many were sort of protesters fighting back. Have you got any sense of the balance?
The take that we are getting, we spoke to 4 people who were present in the village on that day, is that the bulk of those who were shot were defecting soldiers. I couldn't give you a percentage on that, but it does seem to be the large majority. There does appear to have been a number of villagers who were shot as well. Some of those people had indeed taken up arms. Others were bystanders. There were security sweeps after this battle in the centre of Jisr al-Shuga took place, and people were killed and wounded during those clashes as well. But the best we can establish today, by speaking to survivors, the bulk of those killed were killed during clashes between defecting forces and loyalist forces. So
when the government says there were armed gangs, the key detail they left out is that the gangs were their own soldiers.
It would appear to be. That's indeed the case, according to the people that we have spoken to.
Okay, and what about the refugee crisis? Tell us a bit more about that.
Throughout the day, there are hundreds more people still continuing to pour over the border through the southernmost Turkish towns. We're on the far eastern side of Syria and the far southeast of Turkey here. The border is open to people who do want to leave. There are, I would estimate, 300 to 400 people waiting in a field near the village of Geveci, the Turkish village. They are gradually being allowed to cross the border. They are being received by the Turkish military initially and then handed on to the police and then on to aid groups. It does seem to be a steady stream. Last night, Turkish officials say around about 1,000 people did cross, and it doesn't seem as though those numbers are slowing in any great hurry. The Turkish authorities are expecting hundreds more, if not more than 1,000, to cross into southern Turkey tonight.
And what reasons did they give for fleeing?
They all said that the security situation had become untenable. Bear in mind, it has been difficult today to get access to people who have left this morning. However, they have been contacting relatives back in Jisr al-Shuga who remain there. We've been speaking to them. They've also been speaking to the Syrian community here in Antakya, which is the southernmost city here in Turkey, and there is a big Syrian community here. The prevailing view is that if they remained behind in Jisr al-Shuga, in the face of an army that has gathered on the town's southernmost flank and towards the east in large numbers, then they are in serious peril. They do think that the army will attack at some point, and that it seems to be more in their interests to leave the country for now and to stay in the frugal accommodation that the Turks are providing the refugees.
But for now, at least, the tanks are holding their fire.
They haven't shot at all, which is a surprise to some. All of those who have fled so far, all of those we've been able to get access to, and those who have stayed behind in the village, have expected some kind of an onslaught before now. Throughout the day, we did speak to several people who crossed from the road through Latakia and Aleppo. They crossed into the vehicle crossing point here in the Deep South, and we stopped them and spoke to them. And they said there were columns of tanks still on the move, heading towards Jisr al-Sugar. So it doesn't appear that the operation has, or planning for the operation has in any way died down. Preparations are still being made, and people seem to be right in their fear that things may escalate very, very soon.
Okay, Martin, thanks very much.
You're welcome.